Hey folks, I am a giant fan of Camtasia. I use it on almost everything related to these videos. I have Final Cut, I have other things, but Camtasia is just something I've been using for like 6 or 7 years. I'm really familiar with it, and sometimes it's faster for me to just record something on a camera, dump it in the computer, and edit it in there. If you can tell, I don't do a lot of like super amazing editing, so it's a lot faster for me to just dump something out there than to go in and do all of the stuff with bells and whistles. But what we're doing today is we're going to go through and take a look at something that I use to speed up my workflow so that I can edit even faster and really just make sure I use my time effectively. Now, what I'm using is I have an MX Master. This is the original MX Master. They have 2 more since this one came out. This one works fine, so I'm not getting another one. But the basic idea here is that I'm going to go ahead and use the software LogiTech Options with this to set up keyboard shortcuts, and I'll show you which ones I do. But let's go ahead and jump into Camtasia. Okay, so here we are inside of Camtasia, and this is actually the intro that you just watched. I'm going to edit it here briefly for you to show you some of the things that I did. Before we get there, let's go ahead and talk about keyboard shortcuts, because essentially all we're going to be doing is using LogiTech Options to map keyboard shortcuts to our mouse so it can speed up our editing process. On a Mac, all you need to do is go up to Camtasia 2020 or whatever version you're using and click on Preferences. Go over to the Shortcuts tab and you'll have all of the available shortcuts there for you. I'm actually using a custom set because I didn't like the keyboard shortcuts for some of them, so I went through and did that. For instance, if I want to export just a still image so I can use it for like a thumbnail or something, mine is Command F, and the F just stands for frame, so I can go ahead and exit it out that way. Let's go over and jump into LogiTech Options and we'll see exactly what's going on with it. So this is LogiTech Options. You can see the MX Masters here, and all these little circles are buttons on the mouse that are clickable, and you can actually program them to do different things. Now, right now it's set to all applications, so I can set exact items for all of these buttons to do whatever I need to. I'm going to go ahead and change some of that functionality because I don't need all of it right now. But I'm going to set it just for the specific applications I want. So I'm going to click on all applications, and you can see I already have some set up for my various different programs. In this example, we're going to use Camtasia 2020 because that's what we're editing in today. So going in there, you can see that when I highlight over these now, the text that appears up here is different than what it was before. And I'm going to explain what I have and why I have them that way. The first one that I have here is for desktop right. It's the thumb button. Basically, this allows me to quickly jump over to something that I have full screen if it didn't do it for whatever reason. And it's always set up on desktop right for me. So if I jump back over into Camtasia and click that button, it's going to go ahead and pop over to your favorite YouTube channel. Going back over to LogiTech Options, I have the scroll wheel set, and if that's a button press, not the scroll wheel itself, but it's a button press. So it's actually a button. And if I go ahead and click on that, it's going to do a stitch merge. It's going to merge those two things. Wherever I highlight the clip, it's going to go ahead and delete those and stitch them back together to keep it as one file on the track. This one here is going to just cut it. So wherever there's a problem, I can just cut that part out and it'll separate something into 2 separate parts on the track. The scroll wheel stays a scroll wheel just for horizontal scrolling. And then I have my forward and back, which allows me to jump between different pieces of media if I need to. So let's see how this works in real life. So right here, I always have these big snaps when I mess something up, and what I was saying right here, all the way to here, doesn't really work. Now, if I normally was doing this, I could go through, I can highlight all of this stuff, so just grabbing the red button here, drag it over to what I want, and then I can go to my cut tools or whatever I want to do. That's one way to do it. I've had these maps, so if I want to, I can go through and say, hey, I want to trim this spot, and I want to trim this spot. Now you can see I've taken that one clip and made it into 3 separate clips. I can remove that one and then move it on over. That's one way to do it, and that's just the mouse button above the scroll wheel. That's all that button did. I don't have to do anything on my keyboard or actually moving my mouse around. So I'm going to undo that because it's a little faster to just go through, highlight what you don't like, and then I have it mapped to my scroll wheel. So when I push down on it, it stitches them, and Camtasia calls it a ripple delete. It goes ahead and gets those in. So the other 2 buttons that I really use a lot are the forward media buttons. So let's say that I have these pieces here. So I have my intro, my content, and my outro. Ooh, magic. But I want to quickly jump between those because it's just easier than going through and clicking with your mouse all over. All I need to do is hit my forward button on the side of the mouse, and I can jump between each of the clips. Now, if I have clips on different tracks, so track 1 has 2 clips, track 2 only has 1. If I go forward, it's not going to go forward to the bottom of track 1 here. It's going to go forward to the next thing it hits. So you can see that I'm going forward, it hits that, it's going to go to the end of the outro, and then it's going to end on the last clip that's there. So it goes in order. Now what this allows me to do is I don't have to have my hands on the keyboard. That's basically all the editing I really need to do, is removing pieces and moving between different pieces of media. So with just the remapping of a couple of buttons on my mouse, I've now taken my keyboard shortcuts down to just being able to do them with one hand. The only other thing I really use my keyboard for at this point is going ahead and hitting the space button to go ahead and play to make sure that everything looks good. Otherwise, I don't have to remove my hand from my mouse and I can fully edit it right there. Hopefully that helps, and please let me know if you have any questions.